Hello, good afternoon. Welcome to Business. My name is Daryl Kwao. The fire service says it is concerned about possible fire outbreaks, especially in offices, as the harmattan intensifies. This is because commercial centers have been at the receiving end of fire disasters during times like this. Public Relations Officer of the Ghana National Fire Service, Ellis Robinson Oko, has been sharing some safety tips with Joy Business on how your offices can be protected from fire disasters.
That we don't lay our curtains near our air conditioners. But when the air conditioner becomes hot, coming in contact with the combustible material will result in a fire outbreak. Now let's look at our offices. Most of the time, the way we dispose of trash is also very important. We need to do what we call proper housekeeping to ensure that even when there's a fire and we are running away, we won't have any obstacle. It is also very important to weed around our offices and businesses, because there's also bushfire. Fire can spread through the bush into a main building to cause a house fire. So we need to do all these basic things to ensure that we are safe. Over the period, we have been able to visit some markets to point out, those things, electrical, illegal connections, cooking in the markets and stuff. The issue of cooking in the markets, a lot of the market don't have a designated place for cooking, so people cook haphazardly anywhere. But I believe that if there's a designated place, at least it could be monitored to ensure that there's no fire at the place. That is why I'm calling upon the owners of the markets to create a designated place for cooking. Our ministry's fire station embarked on, an exercise to check on illegal connection, and they did that in collaboration with electricity company. They were able to detect a lot of them, and the police also came in to assist to arrest those who have done the illegal connection. So it's ongoing. It is very important that we become very cautious when keeping flammables like petrol, turpentine, and the rest.
The African Center for International Trade and Development has commended government for initiating policies that make Ghana's economy one of the best in Africa. In spite of the success which has spurred economic growth, Executive Director of the Center, Hubert Arthur, has asked government to pay attention to small businesses and entrepreneurship development. According to him, the current business environment is not favorable for entrepreneurs, which makes Ghana lose out on certain opportunities from development partners.
Ghana has made a lot of strides, with respect to our business environment. The various governments that have come, we realize that they've tried to put in place certain systems and structures to propel business growth and also to encourage more investments into the economy. But of course, you can't say that without mentioning that we still have a lot of challenges. If you look at the cost of doing business in Ghana, it remains very high, and a lot of foreigners and even the locals that are doing business in Ghana are complaining of the prices that exist in Ghana. We have our pricing is something which is very crazy. You can't even understand. Yes, we live in a market economy. It's a free market economy. So obviously, government doesn't control pricing. They allow the forces of demand and supply to dictate. So it's understandable, but still, the cost of doing business in Ghana is very, very, very high. And for me, as someone who works around helping SMEs and all of that, it's worrying, because if you want your economy to thrive, you need to look at how you can build the capacity of SMEs to be able to contribute to employment. And it remains one of the very high priority areas that we need to look at as a country. We can say that we have come a bit far in employment. Government is trying to do its best to put in place certain measures, programs to create more jobs for the youth and all of that. But I think there's still more that needs to be done, So employment remains also one of the areas that it still needs to be, looked at,
Well, finally, to end this segment, the Ghana Statistical Service has released the latest inflation numbers. Continuous reduction in prices of food items in the last quarter of 2019 has influenced a marginal drop in inflation for December 2019 to 7.9%. It is a reduction of 0.3 percentage points from the rate recorded in November of the same year. According to government statistician Professor Samuel Kobnenim, apart from food inflation influencing the rate, housing and transportation also recorded a marginal change during the period. We'll bring you more on the marketplace in about 20 minutes. My name is Darryl Kwao. Sports is up next.